and welcome to the JP8 report. This is James Pierce with my podcast report. You can reach me at jp8report@gmail.com. You can find me on Rumble, YouTube, and Podbean, and on Facebook. So today's episode 16, as you saw in my title, we're going to call this the March Toward Oblivion. Okay, I say that because as of yesterday, President Biden, he signed the what they call the American Relief Act. I don't know why, but there's only so much that goes to the average American person that's trying to recover from the coronavirus. So take it as you may. It's not bipartisan. Every single Republican in the House and the Senate voted against it. And there was a Democrat that voted against it yesterday in the House of Representatives also when they concluded the conference report. Well, 2 days ago when they concluded the conference report to send it to the president for signature. So what we just effectively did was we increased our national debt to $30 trillion. And there's more to come because now they're saying they're going to do infrastructure bill, and that's probably going to cost $2 to $4 trillion. And I know some of it's going to come from fuel taxes and stuff that's accumulated over the years and stuff, but that stuff's always being spent. So the money's going to have to come from somewhere. Hello, Federal Reserve. Hello, China. Hello, Japan. Hello, Taiwan. All the other countries that buy U.S. securities, because there's only so much we can purchase in our own country, and we keep spending more and more and more money. You may look at it as free money, the increased child care credit, the increased in being able to receive unemployment through September, the $1,400 for each American adult taxpayer in the country, including illegal aliens. That money's got to come from somewhere, and we're getting free money to pay back later with interest. It doesn't make sense. Okay, you may think it does, but out of that $1.9 trillion, only 9% of it goes to COVID relief. So 91% of that bill goes elsewhere. Okay. One thing you don't know is, and I read this in the libertarian news website called fee.org. It's fee.org. There's a tax increase that was squeezed into the bill. You may not know that. Okay, and it's as simple as this. If you know your taxes, if you take it to, if you know, sometimes when times are hard, you go out and get a secondary job for a couple weeks, 3-4 weeks, and just make enough money to make sure you're putting food on the table or paying your bills, and you make like $500. Okay, under the old rules, if someone that makes under $600, you don't have to report it, right? That's for low-income people. Well, according to this, it's the gig economy tax is what it's being called. It was recommended by Democratic Massachusetts Congressman Richard Neal. Okay, and what it is that $600 is not $600 no more. Every piece of income you earn, you have to report to the federal government now. That means if you worked for Avon, Mary Kay, Etsy, DoorDash, Uber, Lyft, Joe Schmo's Pizza Delivery, and it added up total to $590 or $599. You have to report all of that to the federal government. Okay, they say it's supposed to raise like up to 60 million or something. It's a lot. It's going to affect 10 million Americans. Okay. So when they say they're not going to raise taxes on anyone earning less than $400,000 a year, go take it as you may. I called it a lie. Okay. So what's new, right? Let's see. Last night I watched the speech. I was infuriated that he could not even mention President Trump's name. He accused President Trump of being negligent. At the very beginning of the speech, he said, "We started off in disbelief." I forgot what the exact quote was. That we went days, weeks, months without doing anything to alleviate the misery of Americans. I know for a fact it was almost a year ago. The president came on TV and said 2 weeks to 2 weeks to bend the curve, I think it was. And we all started doing it. And then the beginning of April, it became 30 more days. And President Trump was depending on the exalted one, Dr. Fauci, and his recommendations, which he couldn't even get straight. And it affected everybody in the United States. And, President Trump can only do his best because he's not a doctor. He's a businessman. He's going to make the best decision with the advice that's presented to him. Okay? So you got this going on with Fauci and the rest of the coronavirus task force giving the president the best recommendations possible. So 2 weeks became an additional 30 days because the initial goal was, hey, let's get this done so we could all celebrate Easter. Evidently, it didn't work. And we had cruise ships that were stuck out in the ocean. We had people in New Jersey and New York and Michigan that were taking sick elderly people with coronavirus and putting them back into their nursing homes, more so in New York and New Jersey than anywhere else. And Como is paying a price for that right now. He did some very bad stuff, and I'm not going to get into his personal life because to me that's his personal business. But politically, what his job is to run the state of New York, and what he did there was crazy. He did not want to give President Trump an ounce of credit for anything, and I believe that is why he didn't use the Jet Center. He didn't use the HMS, the Comfort, because he didn't want to give President Trump any credit toward anything. He wanted to take all the credit himself. That's why he wrote his award-winning book, supposedly award-winning book. That's not even being printed anymore. Unity goes both ways. The president, it was his coronavirus bill, his American Rescue Bill is what they're calling it. You got to look at some of the stuff on there, and I printed off some of this stuff so I can read it. Okay, and this is some of the stuff that's in the rescue plan. Okay, that's supposed to be for all Americans. $350 billion in state and local government. That's despite everyone bringing in record tax revenue. Just because nobody was out working in the elements and stuff, and everyone was staying home. There were a lot of people who were working from home. I know for a fact because as a local business owner, I do have loans and lines of credit, and when I call my loan advisor, this guy was working at home, and he lives in New York City. So I know for a fact that people were actually out earning money, and they would order from the delivery services out there and stuff. And so sales tax was coming in, so the government's being funded. Okay, but they're all complaining that they need more money to get them out of the hole. What it is, they want money to pay for the bills that they ran up, that they want free money from, supposedly free money from to pay off all those bills. Even here in Texas, we're going to get money from the federal government on this. We have a $1 billion shortfall from the previous year that we're going to make up. $1 billion, that's not bad. We are the 9th largest economy in the world here in Texas. Under the rescue plan, so that they can justify New York and New Jersey and California getting all these billions of dollars to bail out their union contracts and their pension funds that are overwhelmingly pro-union, that they don't care about the basic worker in the United States. They just want to care about their campaign coffers and their union support. Texas, out of all that money, we're going to get $16 billion from the federal government, and we only have $1 billion shortfall. So, that being said, we have $16 billion. My recommendation to Governor Abbott, we pay off the bills we have, and then we put the rest of the money in our rainy day fund, because, next time we get one of these ice storms, we need to be better prepared for it. We can reinforce our own electric grid, which we need to stay independent, or shore up some of our needed facilities in the state, and then put a large amount of it in our rainy day fund to save it for not just a rainy day, but an ice day, okay, or a hurricane day, or a wildfire day, okay. Next line was $126 billion for schools, even if they're closed, but only 5% of that $126 billion, which would be about $6 billion, would be spent in this year. The rest of it goes for years on out. Okay, Texas schools have been open. I don't know where they're getting this stuff, and I don't know what is the deal. The only thing I can think of is the teachers' unions out there. And here we go with that word again, union. There is no union in union. It's disunion. All they care about is getting money from the government and doing the least amount of work for it. They don't care about the kids. The kids, you should be willing to be a teacher no matter what. Okay. I took the teacher certification test. I own my own business. I could give this up right now and go into a classroom. They don't have to pay me $100,000 to be a teacher. Come on, get over it. Come on, man. Oh, great. Now I'm using that term. $570 million for 15 weeks of paid leave for federal employees. Okay. That could give federal employees up to $21,000. You know what that's for? If they get sick with coronavirus, they're going to go home. Or if they have a relative with coronavirus that needs care for, they'll get paid for it while they're at home, even though they could work from home. I know someone that works for the VA. I went and looked at their setup, and they had 4 screens set up in the bedroom, and that's what he does all day. So I don't know why they couldn't work from their house. A lot of these bureaucrats, all they do is sit behind a keyboard all day long and dream up trouble for the American citizen. Or if their school is closed for their kid and they have to be home, that reimburses them for that part too. But like I said, if they're home and they're doing their own video terminal or virtual reality type stuff, that person can still do his work. Okay. Next is $45 billion expansion for Obamacare subsidies with no income limit. Okay, so now we're subsidizing Obamacare. No incentive to work. Okay. What is it? A friend of mine had to go. She has Obamacare, and she has a detached retina, and she thought she had a really good plan. And all of a sudden, the hospital says, "Oh, you have to pay your $16,000 bill up front before your insurance kicks in," or she has to pay $8,000 of a $16,000 bill because her catastrophic is $6,000 for the deductible. Not a good deal. They're just ripping us off. Next, $4 billion to pay off 120% of the debt for socially disadvantaged farmers and ranchers. It says an average of $220,000 per eligible farmer qualification for the program based on race and immigration status. That's in Section 1005 of the American Rescue Plan. Okay, that is, if you're Caucasian, you're ineligible. If you're black, if you're Hispanic, if you're Asian, and you're a farmer, and you feel like you're socially disadvantaged, they're going to pay off your farm debt. Okay, if you're Caucasian, you got the short end of the stick. You're not going to get a dime. Okay, $200 billion for enhanced. We could talk about other subjects for days. Okay, fair is fair. This is the United States of America. We're a democracy. The economic ladder goes up and it goes down, up and down throughout your entire life. Okay, some people make good business decisions. Some people make bad business decisions, and sometimes people are caught in between and they have no choice and they fold up. Okay, $270 million for the National Endowment of the Arts and Humanities. That's in Section 2021 and Section 2022. What does that have to do with the coronavirus relief? Nothing. Okay. $200 million for the Institute of Museum and Library Services. That's in Section 2023. $91 million for the outreach of student loan borrowers. Wow. That's in Section 2007. So that means that they're about to pay off a bunch of federal student loans from people. What about the people that's already paid them all off? What about the people who had to go out and get full-time jobs to finance their college? They couldn't because they couldn't get loans. And now you're going to get someone that racks up $100,000 in student loans, and oh, you know what? I don't think I should have to pay these back. So, Mr. U.S. government, thank you, Democrats. You're paying off my student loans for me, so I can go out and party all night long. That's wrong. And then I don't understand this. $50 million for environmental justice grants. That's in Section 6002. I might have to look that one up. I don't understand that one. Yeah, maybe you do. Leave me a comment on the podcast sites. And we can go through and rash that one out, but I have no idea what $50 million for environmental justice grants means at all. And, this is crazy. I bet most people are looking for the $1,400 per person. People got delayed bills, and I understand some people ran into hard times. It's no fun running a business. But we're Americans, and we make the rubber hit the road, and we do what we need to do to make things right and pay our bills, and not have to depend on Big Brother to pay our bills for us. I just can't get over the stuff I heard last night with Joe Biden in his rendition of what everything happened over the last year. I don't understand the hatred that Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and Joe Biden have toward President Trump. He won in 2016. He lost in 2020. He won't even refer to him as President Trump or even a former President Trump. that it's crazy. That where are the press conferences? Anyone can come out and make a speech. He didn't stumble too much in his speech last night because he was reading on a teleprompter. But make him answer questions from memory, even if he has no cards in front of him. But answer questions from the press to justify the positions he has as president to the American public for transparency. They said they want to be the most transparent administration in history. You know what? They got a long way to go because President Trump released a whole lot of information to everyone because we had that right to see it. But they're not doing nothing. They won't release President Biden's virtual schedule, his physical schedule, his meetings. Nothing. It's all, I'll circle back to you. They do FOIA requests. It's denied. There are a lot of unconstitutional things happening with executive orders. Same thing happened to FDR. FDR passed all these great sounding bills, and once they reached the Supreme Court, they were denied. And the same thing's going to happen here. In Texas, our Attorney General is suing the pants off the Biden administration for illegal stuff that they're doing with their executive orders. Like I keep saying, if you're going to pass an executive order, you need to follow it up with the legislation. And if you can't, you shouldn't even be passing it, okay? Or signing it. We got tremendous problems in our country, and right now we're just throwing mud on the wall, and it ain't sticking. Because $30 trillion, if you look at the $30 trillion that's going on right now, that we're owed, that is $82,000 per American owed to the federal government. 82,000. Okay? Now they want to do like a $4 trillion infrastructure bill. We just added $2 trillion to the debt. We may end up adding another $4 trillion to the debt. I don't think it'll make it through Congress. But if we just added $5,200 per American to cover this $1.9 trillion, so that means another $10,000. So by the time, if they add $4 more trillion to the federal debt, that'll be $92,000 per American owed to pay our debt off. And I know there's a lot. I can't afford that myself. But right now, $82,000 I owe so they can give away free money. And nothing in life is free. Okay? There's two things you're going to encounter in life, as the saying goes, death and taxes. They're going to tax us to death. Okay? Either we're going to rise up and demand accountability from our leaders, or we're just going to disintegrate like the Roman Empire did. Okay? There's some other stuff I was going to talk about. I can't remember it all. I write down as much as I can so I can talk, so I don't ramble on and on and on. I know one thing I was going to talk about also today. I'm going to have to try to see if I could ever get a guest in here to be with me when we're talking. That would be cool. But there were two bills that were passed in the House yesterday. I believe it was yesterday. One was they want to do enhanced background checks for firearms to increase the 3-day waiting period to up to 10 days waiting period. I don't know what the difference between 3 days and 10 days is, but why take up the 10 days? We're so automated. We know how to check federal records and stuff. And then the next thing was they want to eliminate all non-gun sale. What was that? They were talking about gun sales between private and internet and gun shows, and those were for the background check. There was something else I can't remember exactly what it was, but there was a full-scale attack on the Second Amendment. we have this thing called the Constitution, and that's why I do this report, because the Constitution means a lot. And if it's not in the Constitution, it goes back to the states. Okay, that's Article 10. Okay, not Article 10, the 10th Amendment. But the Second Amendment guarantees us the survivability of all the constitutional amendments and the Constitution. And these people want to erode the right of ourselves to defend the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic. And, if they have their way, they're going to trample over all of our rights, either with this House Resolution number 1, H.R. 1, where they want to try to unconstitutionally change our election process, which they can't. They're so, oh my goodness, we can go on for hours, people. Everything that's unconstitutional that's going on, with the buyback plan they want to try to do, the registration plan they want to do with weapons, the elimination of rights to be able to purchase firearms, and with the Second Amendment, the ability of a state to enact their own laws for the processing of their elections, whether it be early voting or mail-in voting, absentee voting, voter registration, voter identification. Why do you have to use a voter ID to buy alcohol, to drive a car, and do all kinds of stuff with IDs? But when it goes to voting, we can't use an ID to verify your identity, to make sure you legally vote in our country. They want to make it as easy as possible so they can float the vote, to enhance the results, to ensure an IPA type government like Mexico had for 90 plus years, until the people said we had enough and got rid of them. Now they got socialists running the country, but that's AMLO and that's Mexico. They can do what they want down there. But yeah, so that caused the Mexican Revolution ended up being a one-party system, one-party total system, and they wouldn't allow any talk of anything else for decades, for like 75 years. I think the IPA I think it's called the IPA, but they were in power longer than the Soviet Union existed. And we see how bad the Soviets were, and then look at what the Mexican government did for decades to their own people and how they're living now. Okay, so that's today's show. The march toward oblivion continues, and hopefully one day we'll have a solvent country, and that our great-grandkids will finally pay off all of our debt unless we keep spending more money. Interest rates go up, debt payments go up, and then we default. So let's hope that doesn't happen. This is James signing off. You can find me on Parler at James Pierce JP8. You can find me on Facebook at JP8 Report. You can find me on Rumble. You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on Podbean. You can find me at, if you want to just write me an email, you can find me at jp8report@gmail.com. I hope everybody has a great day, and I'm signing off, and I will see y'all later.